As a head coach or the CEO of the program, we believe in culture, and it's not just a buzzword. I mean, there is a program that we have here, and it starts in the recruiting process when we detail to our recruits how it's going to be when you get here. We have 3 pillars to the program that we're going to inspire the community, we're going to teach within a system, and then we're going to recruit and develop. But under that umbrella is just how we walk, talk, act, think as a program, and that starts with the culture of the program. Well, for us, we're more interested in the culture and the attitude before we step onto the field. We feel like if we can really make that primary, when we get to the field, we're going to have a better opportunity to make an impact on the field. So it's philosophical for us, and we love doing it. Whether it's our core characteristics or the program oath or our kids training with Colby and personality index testing, teaching them how to introduce and teaching each other how to speak, and then a primary objective is body language and presence. So, it's one of those things that we talk about as one of our 3 pillars, but the inspire the community piece. If we want fans in the stands and we want people to support Washington State athletics, we don't sit back and expect that to happen. We have to go earn that. So we have to get out and get with Special Olympics. We've got to ring the bell with Salvation Army. Well, the easy one, which is academics as well, is get our kids to meet their professors, begin that relationship with them, tell them they're baseball players, tell them they're athletes, put a bullseye on their chest, and it really impacts the accountability. So, and for us, it's taken off in a really fun thing. The professors have been awesome with it. Really proud of where we are as a program right now. Just culturally, it feels good. Guys are communicating, and I think the biggest thing that we're most proud of is that if you look at our returning guys and how they treat the freshmen, when that's healthy, I think you've got a pretty good thing going. And right now, our older guys have brought the new guys in. There's no territoriality. They're not afraid of each other. They just want to be good, and that's been really awesome to see. I'm really proud of our returning core.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to our second E60 series event, highlighting the Washington State baseball program today. So we're going to discuss team building, facility building, and maybe even a little character building. So before we get into that, I want to share a little context on the E60 series, as we wanted to bring attention to the stories we felt need to be told. As such, we have 3 events that we're going to be covering over the course of this fall: building a program, building in times of COVID, and building a culture, which is today's session. We encourage everyone to participate in the chat function, as Ashley and Josh will manage that feature, with our plan to get to your questions towards the end of the program. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to the star of this afternoon session, your head baseball coach, Brian Green.
The star, Mitch, of the session tonight. Hey, folks, welcome to an opportunity to talk about Coug athletics and Coug baseball. Pumped to be here. Forever pumped to be the coach here at Washington State, and excited to share some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. I know we've got a pretty good lineup of topics ahead. So what I would invite you to do is please join in on that chat. If you got questions or concerns, I'd love to hear them. Interaction is a big part of our Inspire the Community pillar, and that's how we feel we're going to get more people in the stands to promote and support the program. Off the record, I was in the new BTO the other day making recruit phone calls in the office. The furniture wasn't filled up, but I had a little extra juice in talking to those recruits. So look forward to interacting with you guys tonight, and most importantly, go Cougs.
Go Cougs is right. And we will get into some of those topics that you discussed, including the facility and recruiting, a little bit later. But based on kind of the intro video, culture is obviously a huge part of your program. We saw some things with maybe a little dance and a handshake and a hug that was in the stadium. We saw some stuff related to personality tests. Kind of take us into a dive of how you build your culture within your team.
Absolutely. But first off, just from our culture tonight, go Cougs. But no, guys, it's a really exciting thing for us to share because we feel like it's different. We feel it's authentic to us and our program. But we when our kids come into the program, they know that if they come in, there are going to be 3 or 4 things that are going to be really important to the coaching staff. So what we've learned in our journey after me being a head coach of 5 years in New Mexico State and then 1 with the Cougs is being authentic and being upfront in the recruiting process really creates an alignment, which is what we're most importantly interested in the recruiting process. If we can create an alignment of the expectation of how it's going to go, particularly for the players in their first semester, where they understand that those 3 pillars that we talk about, and particularly in the Inspire the Community pillar, We take that very seriously, but we take it seriously because at the end of the day, we want to win baseball games, Mitch, and you know that. But we feel like winning baseball games starts with person first, player second. So with that dive into culture, we have a 12-day culture training period that we build on, and it's what we do. It might be 14 days next fall, it might be 10, but we will make the statement to our players that we are not going to get on the field until we have covered some really key ingredients of what it means to be a Coug, what it means to be a member of this program, person first, player second, our why, how, what as individuals, the oath of the program where we recognize that it's a privilege to be a member of this team, and that we promise to place the needs of the team always above our own, that we'll meet the professor and interject ourselves into the academic community, that we'll get out and ring the bell with the Salvation Army. We'll meet the Special Olympics group, whether it be in the spring or the fall. We'll do our Go Cougs characteristic core values where they'll have to recite it. And most importantly, from day one, is just understanding how to introduce yourself, how to look in it, and powerful stuff right now with the Zoom times. How important is this for our kids academically, that their body language is intact, they're upright, they're interested in their professors. Those are ways that you can impact yourself academically. So all training pieces for us to get our guy to step up on the mound on a Friday night with his chest out, with confidence, with belief in himself, or when he steps into the box, that there's a routine and process. We just attack the off the field stuff. We think it'll get it on the field. I've been a part of, and we've been a part of a lot of winning programs, and that really is the recipe. And year in and year out, we're more confident with it. So we're excited about where we're going. And the cool thing for us, Mitch, on the recruiting side, is we're authentic with it. Nobody else is talking about this. Nobody else is really doing it. So we're excited to share it.
Well, the recruiting success is obviously already translated, as two really good classes have came in, or at least put pen to paper with you in terms of coming in. But talk to us a little bit. How different was the culture process last fall as opposed to this fall?
It was dramatically different in our process or our intent. Last fall, we're a new coaching staff. Trust is certainly not a part of the equation. So it just took us forever for our players to trust the fact that we were genuinely interested in them as human beings, as players. We weren't going to our players, their players, all that garbage that you hear from new coaching staffs that come in. As soon as we get the job here at Washington State, we're Cougs. And the way that we look at it is we're entering into the players' family. They're already here. We're not. So we've got to earn their trust. Last fall was a very quiet, subdued fall until we got to about the middle of October. We anticipated some things this year culturally. I did. It was really on my plate as we went into our staff retreat. We really felt like we would have Group A, the Manzardos, the Whites, the Mills, the Smiths, the Vandebrakes, all of those guys who made a big impact last year. The B group, the guys who didn't play a lot last year, coming back with COVID and rosters just becoming exempt so you could bring everyone back. And then Mitch, the number 29 recruiting class in the country coming in, the second highest class we've ever had, with a lot of talent. So we really felt like we potentially had three factions coming in. We tried to hit that head on. It really didn't show itself, and that goes to our returning players, both the guys that played and didn't play. The leadership has been tremendous. The culture has been awesome. The new players have made the returning players better, and the returning players have not given in at all, and they've supported and prodded along and given advice, but at the same time, you're not taking my position, buddy. So it's been a tremendous fall, but from a cultural standpoint, the buy-in part, the relationship part, the communication we have with our players part, it's a 180 from last year. And when we get to talk about the BTO, where we can see those kids every day off the field before we get into practice, it's just going to continue to grow. So it's exciting times in Pullman, and I think we're all aware of that.
There's no doubt it's an exciting time for all of Washington State. But talk to us a little bit. We saw some clips. The oath. I know that that's such a big part of the culture building, specifically related into the fall. How did that come about? How do you guys practice that? And what does that mean kind of to the program?
There's a story with that, and it's a long one, and I'll eventually get that on video so we can really message it from a recruiting standpoint. But in 2012, after 3 years at Kentucky, where we had been really up and down, we had identified as a staff that the locker room was really essential, and we brought in a group called Team Elite from Nevada. They work with about 5 programs across the country each and every year. They won't work with the same group in a specific conference, which they will now. They work with Arizona as well. But Dean Wellams is a friend of mine for a very long time. Anyways, Mitch, to answer your question, in 12, we come in, we jump around, we tell an oath, we tell our deepest, darkest secrets. We get really, really vulnerable with our teammates, which we learn as a coaching staff is the essential part of the locker room where kids can get vulnerable, kids can get honest, and the coaches and the players can communicate at a level that a lot of times you don't. It's very hard in today's society to say sorry and thank you. Those are things that we really stress. So it started for me personally in 2012. I saw it. We won 45 games at Kentucky. We played for an SEC championship on the final day of the season. Kentucky is not a program that had been in that environment. It had been a bottom dweller in the SEC, bad weather, no facilities. In 13, we're up to as high as number 8 in the country. And in 14, we go to the postseason again, 3 in a row. We have the Golden Spikes winner. So I go into New Mexico State thinking that that's really important. And I saw it firsthand as a head coach how important it really is. So just over time, 5-6 years of being a part of just that little thing with the oath. But something so powerful as making a player and a coach and anybody involved in the organization coming out, stepping across the line and saying that I recognize that it's a privilege to be a member of this team and that you promise to always place the needs of the team above your own. And then you go into our 4 bullets and then you finish it up. But we do it in a way with a lot of passion, with a lot of vulnerability. The coaches do it. Everyone associated with the team does it. And it's a powerful thing. And it's something that we take very seriously. So we actually haven't done it this year, Mitch, because of COVID. We had no intention of doing it with a Zoom.
Yeah.
We don't need guys ripping their shirts off on Zoom. So, half of them are probably in their boxer shorts with a collared shirt on anyway. So, no, we're waiting. So as soon as we can get open with that, and we'll do as good of a job as we can, but that's coming in February this year. But it's a real part of our program, the oath and the core characteristics and the vulnerability piece. That's how you build locker room. And I'm sold on it. I've learned some even from Pete Carroll. He's big on that. You read his readings, his teachings. I think that the core of it, it's about the heart and it's about emotion, about passion.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Last Veterans Day, the first fall that you're here, I come into the office and to give my wife a break, I bring in my oldest son and we're doing some work and things that nature. And all of a sudden we start hearing like screaming outside. And we're like, what is going on? I thought I was the only one in the building. And we walk by and we look in and you guys, I believe, were doing the oath that day. And my son's eyes went like this. And I remember ever since, he always refers to the baseball program as this screaming players. And so it has really kicked in. He loves the energy and he loves the enthusiasm. And we can't wait to see what that does in terms of transitioning to the spring. So with that being said, this pandemic's kind of caused a range of emotions, right? And perhaps none so more than anxiety. And everyone handles that differently. But one thing that seems to calm the nerves is routine. So let's see how the Cougs have done with their routine this fall. Bridget, can you play the video?
From a collective standpoint, we have a lot of guys getting better. You look at Scout Day, and we've got 26 teams here. It's national cross-checkers, and people are paying attention to it. But we're better. We're excited about it as a staff, and we're very optimistic about the season.
Being able to get out to the field is just even more of a privilege because we know a lot of other schools aren't out here right now, and we know we're very fortunate to be practicing and scrimmaging all throughout the fall, especially with this beautiful weather.
So everybody's kind of out there just working as hard as they can, doing as much as they possibly can to get better.
We've really done a good job, and our players have done a great job of adapting, really making sure they adjust if need be, but the development side has really taken on a real positive progression. We're really excited about it.
All right, so we saw some clips of practice, some stuff with Mass. You got some newcomers. You talked about the recruiting class. You got a big transfer from New Mexico State. Talk to us a little bit about how the fall's been so far.
Well, Mitch, we've had a great fall, and Cougs out there, it's exciting. We had a fall Division I or D1 baseball report that's been blasted over social media. That's a big deal. People are paying attention to us. Got a text today from a scout from the Twins who just said my cross-checker is still talking about one of the best scout days that I've been to, and that was because we gave him Red Card Pub and Grub tacos and beer and wine, and we hung out with him after the game. That's our job. But
Yeah.
no, but Mitch, it's been awesome. To be honest, I think our players have kind of pushed the expectations of the coaching staff going in. Not to say that we don't believe where we are. You just never know what type of progression that Leonard's going to make, that Mills is going to make, that White's going to make, that Manzardo is going to make, that Smith's going to make, that Jake Meyer's going to make, Vandebrake, Montez, and I just listed all returners. And it's pretty rare when you come into a group where your returning players on the second-year roster are really going to highlight who you anticipate being the guys that are going to play for you. That's the way you want it, but typically that's not the case. These kids bought in to us, probably January, February. We kind of started breaking down those barriers, and we finished 7-2 in our last 9 last year and ended up being the comeback team of the year with the Cougs. But this fall has exceeded the coaching staff's expectations. I mean, who's kidding who? I mean, Brandon's up to 97. Zane's up to 94 with Sink. Owen Leonard's better. Claggett just does a tremendous job. Terry Davis, our recruiting coordinator. Bergeron on the volley. Bellamy. We got great staff. We got great support. I think BTO has allowed our kids to walk around with some serious confidence in knowing that baseball is a big deal here because it's right in front of us every day. But when we roll out there this year, I think early on you're going to see a lot of returners. But the exciting part is at the same time, if those guys don't get done what they can get done, we could roll out 5 freshmen to start and build those guys. So fall's been awesome. I mean, I'm talking about regional to our kids and doing it with a straight face and not motivating them. We have enough pitching. We have enough athleticism. We have enough confidence. We have enough offense. And people are taking notice. So it's been an awesome fall. We have today was a Crimson Gray practice day where the kids are running their own program today in practice. We'll have an inter-squad tomorrow as well as a doubleheader Saturday. And then our fall's done. And we've said it, Mitch, for 2 weeks that if we ended today, we feel really good about what we've done. And then culturally, too, we've completely changed how we went about this fall. Last year was big development, big work ethic, big skill development, very individually based. We haven't had to worry about that this year, to be quite honest. Our guys are working off days. You have to get an appointment to get into the bar, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That hasn't been the focus, so we've been able to get into team offense, team defense, offensive approach, pitching approach, and we've really taken off. I mean, we feel like we've got a chance to be pretty good this year. If we can have a preseason, I think people can be really optimistic about the Cougs if we can get those 3 or 4 weeks before we start conference play. It's got a chance to be very optimistic for us, and I know the coaches are very excited to be. And we're trying to put a lid on it and keep a lid on it, but we're very excited. It's been a very productive fall.
Well, it sounds like the competition level has risen, correct? Talk to us a little bit in terms of when the scouts came through. Who were the names that were mentioned? If you're not following the Cougs day in, day out, who are the names coming back that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, Kyle Manzardo is the first All-American that we've had here in 15 years. I think 08 or 09, I think Prince was the last All-American that we had in 08. I remember him when I was at UCLA. But so Kyle, he's an All-American, first one in a long time, and a great year last year. His body's changed. The ball's coming off of his bat differently from a power perspective. Scouts are paying attention to him. And then White and Mills, Zane was unbelievable over the Northwoods in the summer. He had like a .8 ERA. He was our Friday guy last year. It's 93 with Sink. Brandon White has come back, and he's gone from 92 to 4, and now he's 95 to 7. He's done a great job in the weight room. Coach Matthews has just done a really good job of upgrading our bodies. So those are really the 3 guys that people like to see. But then, Will Sierra is a new recruit that we brought in, 92, 94 from Yavapai. He's from Canada. Jake Yogel is from Arizona. He's been up to 96 miles an hour. And then we've still got some underclass players that scouts have interest in. Montez is a guy that's had some interest. Jack Smith has had some interest as well. But Manzardo, Mills, White, and then Leonard as a senior sign, and then obviously Tristan Peterson, the transfer from New Mexico State. Consensus All-American in 19. He turned down half of the SEC to come play for us. He hit 400 with 20 home runs in 2019. So it garnered enough attention talent-wise to bring out 6 national cross-checkers. And, we spent some money on those White Claws and white wine and all that stuff, but it was well worth our time. We had a great turnout. To give you a perspective, Mitch, last year's Scout Day, we had 3 area scouts. This year we had 24 teams plus 6 national cross-checkers with those teams. So it was a little bit different in year 2.
It sounds much different. It sounds like you got some pop in the bat and you got some big-time velocity on the mound among your returners. Now you're starting to bring in some newcomers and some exciting recruits. So we'll be curious to see how you mesh the two. But before we get into that, why don't we play a video that talks a little bit about your recruiting philosophy?
For us, the recruiting philosophy is recruit good athletes, but recruit good people, recruit families, be very intentional with it on the front end. And I have found as a coach in our journey here of doing this that when those kids show up and they're with you for 3 or 4 months, and everything that you sold in the recruiting process is exactly what you sold, the trust goes here, and once you've got trust with your kids, now you can start to teach, they believe in you, and that's when their skills can blow up.
We spend a long time evaluating that. We spend a long time identifying, this is a person first, player second program. And we spend a lot of time on that in the recruiting process, and it's really, really important. And as I said before, if we can get that person right, then they're going to go to class, they're going to work hard, and they're going to be a good player.
We want to recruit players, and we want to get them out of here as professional athletes, and we want to do everything in our power on the field to teach them the game, about being a person first, competitor second, and player third.
All right. Well, pretty interesting video talking about your recruiting philosophy, and we continued to hear person first. When you go meet with a family, tell us about what you're looking for that defines this person first mentality.
Mitch, there's 4 characteristics or potentially up to 5 that we look at that we kind of bucket. Obviously we're not going to go into somebody's home if they can't run, if they can't throw. I mean, that certainly, it starts with the talent. But once you get there, there are so many talented players out there. There's so many tremendous athletes out there. We really try to hone on athlete. In terms of a great player, we're interested in that too. But if you can find a quality person, and it really starts with mom and dad, and then you can look at athlete just in terms of a tool or two, if you can grab 2 or 3 tools with a tremendous mom and dad. And the reason that I say mom and dad is obviously we pay attention to the player, but recruiting right now, we're recruiting 15 and 16-year-olds. And, my daughter's 16, and I mean, she doesn't know what planet she's on half of the time. And, and trying to project her into competing against UCLA for, a Pac-12 title is, you're really going to put a lot of stock in mom and dad and how do they treat. So COVID's been a challenge for this. We've really used Zoom a lot and gotten mom and dad on the Zooms a lot. But, we talk to the coaches, we talk to the club coaches, but we pay attention to how they look in the dugout. That's not coach speak. We really do. The biggest thing that we look at is the visit, and the biggest thing that we really are impressed is where it's impressionable for us, the staff, is how does the player treat mom and dad? That is the ultimate sign of respect. That's the ultimate sign of maturity. That's the ultimate sign of accountability for us. We put really, that's probably the biggest thing that we look at off of the field, is if we can't get them on campus, is now that we Zoom, is just, if you look at Loretto, a 21 right-handed pitcher for us, we signed him yesterday. He was the number 1 pitcher. He was the number 1 right-handed pitcher out of the entire Canadian region. He was PBR's number 1 ranked Canadian in the 21 class. he's up to 93. He's a big physical right-hander, and it's a great get for us. We've got him over the Beavs and the Ducks. But Loretto, when we were with him on Zoom a few times, I was actually camping in Lewiston on the first one, and with my family at the RV, and I had my everything set up, but Loretto was there with his family, mom on the right, dad on the left, total family. Everyone waited to talk, a lot of respect, and it just there's a slam dunk, and you do this over and over again. We put a lot of stock in mom and dad, and we put a lot of stock into respect. The second piece that we really try to put a lot of stock into is the presentation that I'll do with a player. And Terry just does such a tremendous job. Terry Davis, our recruiting coordinator, is just a tireless worker. Turned himself into a national recruiter, being with us for 6 years. He was with us 3 or 4 at New Mexico State. Now he's one of the best recruiters in the country because he works and he cares. But, he puts it through the ringer, and then it comes to me and he's like, okay, this is a good kid. It's time to Zoom, and we get on it. And a big thing of what we do, Mitch, is I really try to kind of put him through the ringer a little bit, talk to him for an hour straight, which means I have to be in good shape so I can keep up that energy. But it's in these moments with families and recruits where you can tell a lot about respect and about accountability and about awareness, and when our kids come in, if we're doing a Zoom with them and they're losing their way and where they are, and they're not maintaining eye contact and positive body language, we know that we've got more work cut out for us, but that's a big deal. And it's one of our core characteristics. So I think it goes to mom, dad, in the process of the visit, obviously more Zoom these days. It goes into the body language of the kid with the one-on-one. And then it goes into the club coach, the dugout demeanor, and then Terry just really weeding him out. And then the final piece, obviously, is just looking at the academic profile. We would love to have great students all the time. We shoot for that. I mean, we want to have GPA records like we did last fall. But we really look at just the whole body of work, and if we're seeing an upward trend, then we're looking at somebody who's motivated and being great.
Well, that's good to hear and very interesting to hear. I think for some of the folks that are maybe on the call, you talked about a Canadian pitcher, and while maybe not everyone knows, true baseball insiders know a great country for developing talent, right? Justin Morneau, Joey Votto, James Paxton, the big Maple. It is kind of one of those areas that probably is a little bit overlooked nationally, but obviously could be a great pipeline. And I know that you got some lined up. We have a couple of questions actually from the audience related to recruiting. So first, Bruce Amundsen in Seattle says, like Coach Rolovich, you seem to be placing a value on out-recruiting the Huskies for Northwest recruits. Is there anything you do specifically to entice players to Washington State over UW, or are you looking at different recruits than the Huskies do?
What's up, Bruce? Thanks for your support. That's a great question. I think what's really important, and obviously we want to beat the Huskies, but I've been a part of that. When we were in New Mexico State, when I took over there and when we took over there, the Lobos were killing us in recruiting, and we couldn't compete with them. And it took us about 1.5 years, and then we were going head to head, and then we were just flat out beating them on every recruit. But I expect to do that here, and then that's not. We're in talk time right now. We haven't done anything. We're 9-7 in our first year, and this is a nice time where we can share ideas and feel good about it. But we do have a lot of confidence in what we do and how we do it. And to answer Bruce's question, we do expect to beat the Huskies one-on-one when we go mano-a-mano in a recruiting battle. But to be honest, I think you can really get sucked into attacking or going at those battles. We're really interested in alignment. And I think there's so many Cougs on this call tonight who are Cougs, who understand what it means to go to school at Washington State. UW's a different place, and I'm more interested in getting somebody who wants to be in Pullman, and we're more interested in that. So we've run into them a few times, and we actually have a kid on our team right now who we pulled when we got the job. He was committed to them. We got the job, and we grabbed him and pulled him out. He decommitted from the Huskies and came to us. But we expect to beat the Huskies one-on-one when we go to work with them. But I'm really interested in the alignment piece. a 60,000 student commuter campus where you can't take a class at 8, 9, and 10. You know, it's 8, and then you need an hour to get to your next class. That's not Pullman. And if you want a downtown and you want big city and you want plenty of homeless, sorry. No, but it's just different. Seattle's different. And I just think that's really important. And we really want to sell who we are. We want to inspire the community. We want to sell College Town. We want to sell you come here and there's nothing else to do but better your body, better your soul, and better yourself as a player and get out and play professional baseball. You're going to go on a 3-year mission. I think, though, Mitch, to answer Bruce's question, I just think with us being really specific on our alignment and trying to communicate who we are, when we go head-to-head, we're going to end up beating them because the guys that we're even entering the door with, there's going to be some alignment with what's going on there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another question related to the recruiting aspect. Mike Moon from Ellensburg says, how do you see the guys signing today getting into the lineup this spring?
Well, all Mike's concerned about is getting back to Hawaii with the Cougs like he was last season.
Very true.
Mike, the guys that we signed today fitting in, you know, that actually is, as we look at that and we project that as guys who are going to make an impact. We can talk about them, but we signed 3 of the top 20 junior college players in the country yesterday. One of them was official today, 2 were yesterday. But an outfielder from Illinois bounced back from Miami. He turned out Kentucky, Louisville. A left-handed hitter from Nevada at CCSN was head-to-head with the Ducks. And then today we got a left-hander who's 92-94 from San Jacinto in Texas. Those are all junior college players. Certainly they're going to jump right into the mix. We have to anticipate that Manzardo's gone. We have, obviously TP's a senior. We would anticipate that that White and Mills are gone. So there's your pitcher, and there's a couple of bats to replace them. And then you're looking at the freshmen. Going forward, we love our freshmen that we currently have in the program. One of the things that the program is going to improve on is development. We're going to give our players time to develop. We're going to invest in development. So when we look up and they're juniors, they're going to be real players in the league. We won't make quick decisions. So they're going to have their hands full of the guys ahead of them, you know, with the Russells and the Louis Albrechts and the Keith Jones and the Jennings. We've got an exciting group of freshmen that are here right now.
Well, that sounds great. Obviously, everyone's optimistic about what the future holds for you, but the foundation has been set, right? You inherited a great program. You inherited a great neighbor in Dwayne Brailsford behind you.
I got kicked out of the chat function, so I thought I'd just walk next door.
Why not, man? And you got some red wine to boot.
Yeah.
Right. I like it.
In the middle of my thing, Mitch. We were right here, and I went, "Oh God! Oh, Dewey, we're fine."
Before we turn it back over to the comedy act of Dewey and BG, we do want to roll a video that talks a little bit about the alumni and the base that they've set for us. So we'll start with that.
Yeah, I do my best. Obviously, we get as many alum and former players to come talk to us, and every time you get to hear the guys' knowledge and experience here, you really just cherish every day that you have out on that field. But I think that's what's so great about the new facility is that it stands for all the history and everyone who's come before us, whether it's coaches or players or just alumni in general.
Past players understand that this kind of needed to be done too from a facility standpoint. You know, we need to compete with the pack and compete with the rest of the Power 5 schools in the nation, and this facility gets us right there.
With regards to making or getting our kids to understand how important this place is, that was one of the first things that I did as the coach here, was to make sure that the history of this program went up onto the wall, and then to bring that history in to those kids. That's really important to us, is we want alumni relations because we want the guys to know how important it is to the alums, but we also want them to know you can be a tremendous success here, and here's a whole laundry list of it. So that's a big part of what we do. That's part of our 3-pillar Inspire the Community.
All right. Well, another cool video, and we saw some of the great alums that we've had at Washington State over the years, whether it's Johnny O, Hatterberg, the Miller brothers. Talk to us a little bit in terms of how you use alumni and look to build off what they gave you.
Well, we have an unbelievable alumni base for Washington State baseball, and my job is just to sell it. My job is to communicate all of those great Cougs who are here. and we have so much support. Obviously, when I'm in Hawaii last summer and I walk by with a Coug shirt and I hear "Go Cougs," and I didn't know what that was. That was new for me, and I get it now. But we have with Olerud and Niedenfuer and Say, but I mean Niedenfuer, Tom. I don't know if Tom's on here tonight, Mitch, but we communicate 2-3 times a week, and you look at Olerud and you look at Hatterberg and you look at Seeley and you look at the Miller family. I mean, we have so many great Cougs. My job is to do this, and it's very simple: is to create a network that's bigger than it's ever been. We have the very strong contingent with the Bobo group, clearly, and the Buck group. I mean, 4 Omahas; those are all over our new facility. But my job and what I want to do is to make sure that when we get to those alumni weekends, that we can have 2 or 3 of them. And that might be selfish for me. So I can have 3 golf tournaments and I can play the entire summer and not work. That might be selfish for me, but I want to make sure that we get into the entire group. We get into the Coach Lee's group, and we get into all the way back the Donnie group, and moving all the way back to the Bobo group. That's how you really build a movement. There are so many Cougs out there, and there were so many great players, and I was with the Beavs in 01. I was with the Bruins from 5 to 9. So I saw that 2000 group, and then we came up here and played the Cougs in 14, 15, my first year. So, I've seen that first portion of the 2000s. We've got to get back the Moonies, and we've got to get back every Coug, and that's how you build a serious movement. Those are my goals in New Mexico State. And those will be my goals here, is to, as the CEO of the organization, is to bring everybody in, because we're all Cougs, and when we all should feel proud about being Cougs. And it's my job to bring everybody together, and we'll have projects that'll be lined up with that moving forward after we get this BTO thing done. But there's so much history here. We just have to get it out. I think there's a lot of history here that the general fan doesn't know about. I didn't know about it. And it's been really cool for me. I mean, when I get the job and 3 days later I'm at Legends having a cocktail with Niedenfuer, and I grew up a Dodger fan. I mean, that was badass, So there's a lot of cool stuff that can be sold here, and that's my job.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think everyone on this call knows how good this conference is historically at baseball. And so Jim King has a question from Snoqualmie. He says, it seems the Pac-12 has been really strong lately. I would probably make the argument, and historically. But anyway, so how do you see us in the conference? Obviously, we know the goals, but just your feelings early on your tenure at Washington State. I think he's asking, how do we stack up?
Yeah, Jim, good question. Our expectations are to go to the postseason, and what that means typically in the Pac is that you're in the top 5 in the league, potentially top 6. The league needs to get stronger. And it's not from a talent standpoint and not from a quality standpoint. The league needs to get stronger nationally. The SEC getting 10 teams into the NCAA tournament every year, and the Pac getting 5, that's a travesty. We need to be better at that, and that's just my 6 years of experience in the SEC. Our 6th place team, being in New Mexico State and playing Arizona State every year. Being at UCLA for 5 years, and when I left, Bauer and Cole were coming in. The 5th place team in this league can go win a national championship. So for us, it's top 6. That means you're in the hunt for a regional, and that's early on. As we move forward, it's very simple. With the BTO, with cold weather and a lot of Southern schools, with great players in the state of Washington, with a great history at Washington State, and with a community that's just all about the Cougs and wants to support, we can be an absolute nightmare up here in the Pac-12. And I know that. Oregon State proved that could be done just down the street, and we're very similar schools. My goals moving forward is that we are one of those nightmare teams in the Pac. Our expectations are that we compete for the postseason each and every year, and that's the expectation for the coaching staff starting this year. I think we have enough. And then moving forward, we certainly will have enough. And to answer your question, Jim, between 4th and 1st, it's another arm, or it's another bat off the bench, left and right. Depth. We expect to go to a regional this year. We've told our players that if we stay healthy and we can have a preseason, that's really important for our kids. We need to have a preseason before we enter conference so we can gain some confidence and we could identify a little more of our roles, but expect to go to the postseason every year. We've been twice in 30 years. So not to say as it's a pretty lofty goal. It's not a lofty goal. We can win here. You can win a lot of places in America. And now with the BTO, that's been proven with recruiting. We can get good players here, and we can get after it. We can build culture, and we can be a real bitch for somebody that comes from the South up into the cold, and we'll embrace that.
Absolutely. We will embrace that. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times the impact that BTO will have on your program. So let's roll a video that talks a little bit about that facility.
I've been a part of a couple of new facilities, nothing to that grand and that scale. But looking at that thing, it gives all of us a little extra pep in our step. It makes you feel proud about what we're a part of. It gives you a sense of pride in knowing that this is important, not just to us, but to people in the community, to all the Coug alumni, the boosters, the former players. It gives us that pep. But what we know moving forward is we're on a level playing field with the rest of the Northwest.
Also, just the energy around Pullman and Washington State right now is electric, and I think there's a lot of progress being made with this baseball program that the building can stand for.
It's huge for recruits to kind of have something that you can be proud of, that you can say is dedicated just to baseball. It's kind of, we're going to have our own weight room, classrooms, nutrition centers.
So all the hard work that has gone into it, all the donors, all the administration, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and seeing it finalized, we just couldn't be more excited of the impact that it's going to make.
For us to be able to spend all day long, theoretically, with our players, I think that's going to have a gigantic impact, not only in recruiting, but that's going to have an impact on our current team and our performance on the field.
It's just nice that, hey, our student athletes can have a different home now they can go to before class, after class, in between class. They know our coaching staff will be in that building. Our coaching staff loves spending time with our student athletes, and our student athletes like spending time with our coaching staff. It's just the relationship piece of that building is really, really what I'm most excited to see impact Washington State baseball.
All right. The end is almost here related to that facility. From literally the moment we interviewed you, I remember we had those pictures up in that speakeasy, to now being, 6-8 weeks away from actually opening this thing up. Talk to us a little bit about the excitement you have for opening the doors and the first time your team actually gets to walk in there, go to the locker room, use the weight room, sit in that classroom.
Well, Mitch, the first off, when I walk into the interview room in the speakeasy and all the plans are up, and all I know is it's the Cougs job's open, and I've heard whispers of a facility, but I don't care. I've been to Pullman. It's a college town. You can win there. It's just – so when that thing was coming in, whoa. And then to get the job, highlight of my life, my family's visiting this weekend, and we talked about the top 5 moments of my professional career, not family related. And, that phone call from Pat, and we'll talk about the Canadian recruiting later. But that phone call from Pat, but from day one, it became the facility, and every couple of weeks talking about how we were going to impact this and some of the changes that we were able to make to really kind of impact the story for us from a recruiting standpoint, how we were going to impact culture with knocking down a wall and having a great room and making sure that, you're going to have 75, everybody involved in the program in the room or in a room at the same time. And then the detail that went into, which color wood we were going to have as a backdrop of the Coug. Was it going to be stained or was it going to be sanded down, and all of those details right now, which that place is amazing. And, I got to see it yesterday. The furniture is being put in as we speak. It's not done, but we're bringing it in as we speak. I went into my office and selfishly I shut the door. I had my legs crossed on the corner chair, reclining chair, and I was looking at March Stadium, and I called recruits. And I was like, hey, I'm sitting in the new office. But the value, what's it done? Look, it's made a value statement about Washington State baseball is important. The bottom line is when you recruit a kid from Seattle or you recruit a kid from Eugene or Corvallis, and they take trips to the Ducks, the Beavs, the Huskies, if they come to Pullman and the BTO is not here, baseball is not important. And that's not the case anymore. and now baseball is important. So what's that done for recruiting? I mean, we're good recruiters and we work hard and we believe in what we're doing, but the second highest recruiting class in the history of the school in our first try at it, we're not the heroes on that one. The people on this call and the BTO people, the Beanos, the Millers, the Hatties, the Jones, you name it, all of those people that were involved and continue to be involved with WSU athletics, those are the heroes. But it puts us on a level playing field. Most importantly, it's a value statement. And I think the secondary thing, aside from the culture that we talked about there, is just how it makes our kids feel. We're playing catch in left field, and that thing's right there. And I mentioned that in the video, but I've been a part of 2 upgraded stadium movements, and both of those years we had tremendous years. I'm not saying that that's the case this year, but I can tell you that there is a lot of pride that goes into when people are there to support you as a player. You walk around with a little more confidence. So I'm very clear that I'm in a good place at the right time, and I've got a little bit of a gold mine with us, and we don't take that lightly.
Well, it sounds a little bit like the perfect storm, but as you get ready to open this facility, one of the things that we've heard over and over again is the value of the relationship building in there, whether it's the classroom, whether it's the locker room. So my question is, you have a prominent alum on this session who not only was part of the 1976 College World Series team, but also one of the lead donors to this project. He's agreed to speak to the team when the facility opens. What message do you want him to deliver to the current roster?
How important it is to be a member of Washington State University and the baseball program. I think that is the most important thing that we try to spell in the oath process, is just that it is a privilege and an honor to be a member of this university and to this program. And I think specifically, Mitch, for us as baseball people, because the teams and the players from the 60s and the 70s and the Bobo teams and the Buck teams, those are different. Those are totally different deals from recently, but they're not. And I think the most important thing that those members, like we had Bobby Weiss speak to the team, and we had Niedenfuhr speak to the team, and we had Hatteberg speak to the team. And I've had a chance to sit down with John Olerud and had an hour with him. I've met with the Millers. Obviously, my neighbor Dewey, how important Washington State is to him and his family. But having lunch or being a part of the Beano crew, I get that. And I think the most important thing is that as a player, they need to hear that. So it's our job as coaches is to bring all those people in and get them in front of your players, because what you end up hearing is over and over again the same message. How important it is here, how special it is here, how much we're rooting for you. When we're in Phoenix or we're in Utah or we're in Oregon or we're in Southern California, we're watching, we care, and we're there to support you. So my message is very clear. It's a privilege and an honor to be a Coug. Understand that, and then know the message is very clear. And I tell our kids this all the time, but we don't own this space. We rent it. And the coaches rent it, the players rent it. We just don't own it. And we've got to earn it, and we've got to earn it every day. And if we do that, over time, we'll provide value to the university. If we do that, then we're all going to win. And that, at the end of the day, is what we're trying to do.
Very well said. Well, we've covered the roster. We've covered the history. We've talked about the facility, but we haven't covered the games yet. And you have a big vision for how you would like that to look in the future. So let's get into that after this video on some traditions that you hope to make permanent moving forward.
Our student fans, they have the zoo crew group, and I think part of them sectioned off. Baseball specific group of bringing the chair, cheering for strikeouts. As a pitcher I love. I think it gets the fans involved. Obviously, the program fan experience will be very fitting as our team's excelling on the field. We'll have more and more people watching us.
We have the opportunity in Pullman, like you do in Corvallis, like you do in Eugene, potentially in Seattle, but those college towns that we have here in Pullman, where we're the only show in town, you get a chance to really jam the stands. So that drives me, and I know you have to go earn it. I know that chair crew started with, I went out after the game, we took a picture, we sent it out on social media, we thanked them, and they doubled their attendance, and then they doubled it. The next thing you know, they had their own Twitter feed tag and post, and the next thing you know, it grew into something that next year is going to be large. So those are the relationships we want to build here. Our whole coaching staff feels the same way. Pullman's a great place to be.
The cheerleaders, they are a fun group. They will be back as soon as fans are allowed. Talk to us a little bit about how that came to be.
That again, just like the stadium, just something that kind of drops into my lap. I get a text or an email from a group that says, "Hey, coach, we're a student group, or we have a class project. You know, is it okay if we come out there and cause a little havoc?" And I was like, "Please do. Invite all of your friends and let's get it as rowdy as you can." And it's 5 or 6 kids with a little bit of a chant on a strikeout. And, you know, Mitch, it's one of those, it's week 3 at home, I believe, may have been week 4. But as we all know in Pullman, week 4 still might not be 75 and sunny. So it was cold. It's 32, 33 degrees, our home opener. And we've got quite a bit of fans there, but we got this little student section next to the dugout. Anyways, I'm like, look at these goofballs, because we rolled Niagara our first game. We scored like 15 runs. And it's a blowout, and they stayed for the whole game. And I was so inspired. I went out, I took a picture, and I said, "You guys are awesome, man." And I went out, and we took a picture, and with social media, and I was trying to sell it with them and promote them. And, yeah, they doubled their attendance the next day. And by game 4, there was like 50 students out there. And next thing you know, the administration gets in, which you guys are awesome. And then we've got little mini chairs, and now they're throwing them up there. And now they have their own social media crew, and they're ready to go for next year. And I actually have already been in touch with them a few times over the fall just to make sure that we're ready to go. But, you know, the vision is very simple. Fraternities, students, party, big crowds, RV program, butch, cheerleaders. UCLA comes up, it's 35 degrees. There are 3,000 fans in the stands. You're like, these people are nuts. They're cold, they're shivering. Our guys are wearing T-shirts, not me or Claggett. We'll be triple layered up. But, I mean, it's just, that's the vision. You know, the vision is not, our vision is, the end result is to get to Omaha. But if we're building that brand, and if it looks like that, and that's really where my brain is how does it look? If it looks like that, then we're going to be doing everything else right off the field or on the field to get people to want to come support us. So obviously with the BTO where it is right now, concessions, beer sales, and the fans that we had last year, we got off to a great start with 4-1 at home, but I was blown away at the amount of people who came to watch us in 35-degree weather. It was gray and wet. It was awesome. So that really got my juices like really flowing for this year. Like, we can jam that place, and it can be nasty. So, but the chair crew, they're a part of the family now. I mean, as soon as we get de-COVIDized, I will be out there with those dudes in a parking lot, and we'll get a picture, and then we'll turn our cameras off, and maybe I'll have a Coca-Cola with them and say thanks for their support, because that's what it's about. And I think that's your job as a head coach. I think that's your job.
Yeah. Well, it was a very small sample size, but if we can get that to be permanent, that place will be rocking. So
Yeah.
Kind of a follow-up question to that. Lynn Carmichael from Salinas, California said, super job selling who we are as Cougs, and building better is fantastic. Was it easier selling Washington State this year, having that great start to the year last season?
Hey, Lynn, it was. That really, look, everything's an opportunity, and that's how we look at it within our program. One of our core characteristics is that we're energy positive, and literally that's very important to our program, is when you look at something that it's either good or bad, and there's no in between. And so COVID was an opportunity for us. It was an opportunity for us to pass teams by. That's how we look at it from a culture standpoint, really get after it on Zoom, be better at the other programs in Zoom. But we had a winning season, and that hadn't happened here in 5 years. And I know it was a short sample size at only 16 games, to finish 7-2 in our last 9, and to see our kids and to feel it. The coaches felt it coming, and we were really excited about Cal coming in on opening Pac-12 weekend. So we were excited about that. So 9-7, it's a winning season. We have a GPA record. We have our first All-American. We have a SAC president. We have the student athlete of the year in Block. He's drafted, AJ Block, a left-hander out of Seattle. And then you have the BTO. There's a lot of positive stuff going on. So was it easier selling us this year? Absolutely. In year one, it's just talk. In year one, It's about what we did at New Mexico State. That's it. And it's what we're going to do at Washington State. We haven't done anything here yet. Clearly, we all know we haven't done anything here yet as well, but at least we have one sample size season, a winning season, and a program that was moving this way with a nationally ranked recruiting class and our first All-American in 15 years, and a feeling of culture that was pretty positive. So for us, gave us some confidence that we could go out and sell a product that was truthful. And when we can sell something that we believe in, we're pretty good recruiters.
Well, that's good. I had a coach tell me at one point, when you first get to a program, you're selling a concept. Yeah. After 1 or 2 years, you're selling a process. And the hope is by the time you actually have success, then you're selling a product. And obviously you guys are very early in that process. But after year one, the process has proven to be very successful and obviously will lead to results in the future. So we have probably one more video and one more topic before we wrap this up. But one of the things that you've mentioned throughout this conversation was what it means to be a Coug. And there's little doubt that you have indoctrinated yourself into all things Washington State athletics. Clay mentioned during his jersey retirement that you can travel the world, but there is no place like the Palouse. So with that, let's see the team's perspective on what it means to be a Coug.
Being a Coug, I think some people see it as just, it's a new family. You have so much support, you have so many close friends, and even random people you see walking around. If they're a Coug, Cougs help Cougs, and they love talking to another one. So it's just the most welcoming and supportive group of people I could ever ask to be around. And it's really a second family for me.
I mean, just kind of having a second family away from home, guys that I can go to and talk to about anything, probably lifelong relationships.
During the COVID time, see my folks, and I just remember going by the beach and I was wearing a Coug shirt, and I'm in Southern California, and you get the Go Cougs, and you get it everywhere. I mean, whether you're in an airport or you're across the country or anything, but this brand means something across the nation, and it's pretty special to be a part of it.
It means that I'm a part of something bigger than me. It means that I'm a part of something with a tremendous history. So I walk around with a ton of pride, and it makes me want to prove to the administration and the alums, I want to prove to them that I was the right choice, and I want to win, and that's my way of saying thank you. And our pedal is down, and we're working to do that every day.
Well, pretty neat video. And being a Coug is not something that you guys just put on the wall. It's something that you live and breathe every day, from helping your Coug neighbor figure out how to turn on their fire pit to working the RV lots and having some celebrations with the alums and the recruits and the parents. So talk to us a little bit more about what it means to be a Coug.
Well, Mitch, I just think that as you get an opportunity to be a head coach in any athletic department program, you come in and you stake your claim on what you want to do and what you're going to do as a coaching staff and as a program. But for me, I think it was a really great opportunity to be at New Mexico State as an alum and to be the head coach at a program where I was the alum. That gave me a little bit different perspective. And I'm really happy that I had that opportunity, because I'm responsible for all those alums and all those Coug fans out there who want to be great. And for so many of us who have memories of, we've been great here, and where is it and when's it coming? So, what does it mean for me? I think it goes back into alignment. My goals are aligned with what I feel are the goals of what it means to be a Washington State Cougar. Mitch and you guys and Chris and PC and our administrative staff, we talk about what it means to be a Coug and what is our mission and what is our vision. Well, the big one is we have a chip on our shoulder, and we've got to find a way to be creative, to be tougher, to embrace who we are up here and all those things, which are part of our Unleashed program. Hey, I want to prove to everybody that I was the right choice. That's the most important thing to me. I know that I've been given the keys to an unbelievable car. I mean, I grew up a Dodger fan. I grew up watching John Olerud. Moneyball is one of my favorite videos with Hatterberg. Sealy's a 20-game winner. These are dudes. Ron Say, my first baseball game I ever went to was a Dodger game. So And then I get to learn about the 76 team. These are the things I didn't know growing up. And I get to learn about Coach Bobo and all the stories and what it means. And knowing that his jersey will be up in the coach's conference room front and center when you walk in. That's an honor to me. But it's also an opportunity to sell something that's a great product. And so I'm honored to be here. I know that I've got the keys, that I'm renting or leasing a car right now. And I want to translate that or bring that down to our players, and we will. And we don't take it lightly. This isn't about me and the staff. This is about Washington State baseball, and it's about bringing it back. And you guys, the administration, starting with Pat and President Schultz, gave us an opportunity to come in and say, fix it. And we don't take that shit lightly. And we're excited about getting it right. And with the BTO, a lot of opportunity and great stuff here to be really good. So I think we're really excited about getting back on the field and getting over just the talk part, but just proving it again. And that's what drives us, because we're truth tellers and it's important to us to tell the truth. So what's it mean to be a Coug? From a personal standpoint, I mean, this is a lifelong dream. I grew up in Temecula in Southern California. I grew up a UCLA fan, and I grew up a Pac-12 fan. So to be the head coach in the Pac-12 is a lifelong dream, and I'm honored, and I don't want to screw it up. And I want to work hard every day to take advantage of that and maintain it and build this thing into something that hasn't been done in a very long time.
Well, Coach Brian Green, appreciate your time. And as someone who works on the administrative side of things, my litmus test is that I have 2 young boys, and at some day, hopefully they will have the opportunity to go to college, hopefully play college sports. And if I am a parent, who do I want to essentially be the surrogate dad for them? Who do I trust will develop them both on the field, off the field, invest in them holistically? And I could not imagine a better representative than you. So we feel so fortunate to have you here at Washington State. We know that the future is as bright as it has ever been, and we look forward to being with you every step along the way from here on out. So with
Thanks, Mitch. And we all know it's one thing. It's go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Special guy. Special guy. I'm telling you
Thanks,
what.
Dewey.
We had Bobo Brayton here for many, many years. I don't know anybody that's got even close to Bobo's abilities, passion for WSU. This guy's got it. Very excited to see what he can do.
Very well said. BG, you are in charge of getting Dwayne back to his home safely. I know that is a big task.
That only cost me $100. We're fine.
Yeah, we trust you to handle that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we are going to wrap up for today. So we want to thank everyone again for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this session as much as we did. Our next session will be Thursday, December 3rd at 4 p.m., which that session will be focused on the future of Washington State athletics and how we plan to continue to improve in the face of the pandemic.
Hey, Mitch, I just put my cell on there. Anybody involved, I just threw it up there. If you want it, guys, you've got access. There we go. Go Cougs.
Perfect. So please stay in touch with Coach Brian Green. Until then, please consider signing up for Night with Cougar Athletics if you haven't done so already. BG makes an appearance actually playing a little bit golf, so it's sure to be entertaining. But in the meantime, make sure to cheer on the baseball program when they return to the field next spring, and we will see you guys all very soon. Thank you, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs.